Sir, shall I allow all the participants, sir?
Yes, Jaziel, I think you may allow.
Shall we start, sir? Shall we start, sir?
Yes, you missed. I think, yes, we can, sir. We go, sir?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir. A warm evening to present dignitaries, students, and SIG staff. I, Mrs. Pallavi, welcome you all for today's webinar on drone policy and application in reference to remote sensing data analysis. Before we proceed to session, I would like to invite Dr. T.P. Singh, the Director, Symbiosis Institute of Geoinformatics, to deliver welcome note for today's session. Hand over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pallavi. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to welcome today's guest. And this is that one thing that very important, the topic which has been chosen by committee, that is drone policy and applications. When we are talking about remote sensing and data analytics. And that is in a very auspicious day today, when that India is celebrating Makar Sankranti, Bihu, Pongal, as well as the Lodi in the different parts. So this is a very, very coincident, that very special topic in a very special day that we are going to be addressed. And I welcome today Mr. Satayam Kushwaha, who is the director of Indian Space Association. And all of you know about that Indian Space Association, that is that newly established association by the government of India. I welcome Mr. Satish Kumar, CEO ROSYS Group, and Mr. Dominic Karunesudas on this occasion. Dear friends, do you know that this topic which we are calling that the drone and the remote sensing, both are very important. Why it is important? Because they are playing an important role in our daily life. Maybe that we are not able to understand that how it is going to have impact on our daily life. And 2021 is that very important year for the both of the things, when we are talking about the drone and when we are talking about a geospatial application. The government of India has come up the new policy for drone, as well as that new policy for the geospatial data. And this policy is basically given that opportunity to the users to start their businesses in this area. These policy also liberalize many things within that the framework of regulations. If we go through that the policy of drone policy, it almost cut down a lot of paperwork to that, minimize it up to that only that 3 to 5 paperworks. It has reduced drastically a fee of drone operation or drone registration. So that is that the how users can give that the chances to utilize such kind of instruments, such kind of data set to analyze more for their businesses. When we come to the geospatial policy, that geospatial policy come up with that the standardization of a geospatial data set. And I was looking for a long time that how government is going to become to standardize a geospatial data set. That is one of a very important step a government has taken to standardize a geospatial data set. Along with this, that how to liberalize those data to the users, and users can utilize a data set for their businesses, and it is going to be generate a lot of opportunity for our youngster or young generation in this area. And it's play an important role on their daily life also. Coming to that, the application, when I'm talking and when I said that it is affecting to our daily life, if we are going through that, the agriculture and that how agriculture acreage is going to be understand, that would be very precise while we are having a drone data set, while we are working on the remote sensing data set, you are going to be get a more precise information of a particular agriculture area or acreage of agriculture. And over and above that, the natural resource, that estimation and the quantification of a natural resource, a precise natural resource, that where it is, what it is, and how it is spreading, that information we will get that when we have a high resolution of a data set, and which we are going to be get it from the drone. And drone play a very important role in the remote sensing also when we are mounted drone with the different sensors, and sensor like that LIDAR, which play a very important role to provide the bathymetry, to provide that the altitudinal information of a particular object. And earlier it was not possible. I remember that during that 2001, 2002, when I was working on object extraction or that object extraction for urban sprawl, object extraction for say that electricity project. That time it was very difficult because that the 3D information was very difficult to get it, and precise 3D information. And I was using that ROSYS data set, which is that European company provide that LIDAR data to extract information of an object. Now this opportunity nowadays is that very much liberalized, which earlier it was very much confined in the certain area. Now you can see that how much liberalization is over there. And I must thanks to the government on this their initiative to liberalize these policy under the certain regulation. So again, I'm thank you to all of our speakers to agree to give us that the information about these policies, drone policies, remote sensing, and the data analytics policies, which has come in 2021 to the from the government of India. So thank you all of you, and I welcome for this webinar, and I hope that all of you are going to get a lot of information and knowledge from these stalwarts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for welcome note. Now, I would like to introduce today's first speaker of the session, Sri Satayam Kushwaha, Director, Indian Space Association, former Wing Commander, IAF. He is strategist, tech innovator, and geospatial evangelist. With more than 24 years of experience specialized in military aviation, policy programming, strategy and program design, and geointelligence analysis for both defense and infrastructure. He has strong capabilities in conceptualizing national level programs, policy planning, organization refinements, multilateral coordination, steering design, developments, and trial of multi-agency technology platforms at various levels. He looks forward his leverage, his professional expertise to strengthen the organization, enhance ground infrastructure and services planning, and create capabilities which help to facilitate single window access to smooth administration management and ease of business. He has achieved many honors, awards, and recognition. I again welcome Sri Satayam Kushwaha and hand over session to him.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the.
Your voice is echo, sir. Okay, sir.
Am I audible probably now?
Your voice is echo, sir.
Just one second. Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I am so grateful to Dr. T.P. Singh, the faculty, and all the attendees of this interesting webinar that has been organized by Symbiosis. I think it is at the right time when we are seeing a huge opportunity explosion, I would say, in terms of multi-platform, multi-sectoral policy refinements that are being pushed by the government of India. And having been a policymaker, I can assure you that policy making has never been very easy, because you have to bring out a very, very fair balance between growth, between security, and I would say in terms of democratization of the impact of what we are trying to do. So there's been a great history associated with the drone regulations also. We will go into it in a much more objective and a bird's eye view manner, because the time given is limited. So I shall keep my views restricted to the important aspects of it, because that's what is the need of the hour. I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the thing is that first, before we get into exactly what we're trying to do in terms of policy, it's very important to understand that what is a drone. So here you have a kind of a schematic diagram of how a drone looks like. So it is basically an airframe. It's got battery, it's got receivers, it's got a GPS sensor, and it's got a controlling station. So how do you define a drone? Effectively, it could be an aircraft without a pilot on board. And the parts that come onto it are as visible to you. Now, let's look at the strategic picture first, that what is drone industry in India and why probably the government has taken this. A bit about it in historical perspective. I recall when I was doing some drone analysis in terms of the capability of neighboring countries as well as globally, I was quite astounded to see that China had taken a very, very big leap. When I first got introduced to the subject of drones and UAVs, UAVs are unarmed aerial vehicles. And the kind of patents that were being done at that time, it was a very, very, very interesting, China was really taking a big leap in that. And I actually felt quite agitated that why India, with all its cerebral capacity, was not moving into that direction. And when I investigated this subject further, then I realized that we probably were kind of sandboxed into a wide variety of concerns, which are primarily security, and that has been a challenge for us because of the kind of unique location that India has, being sandwiched between two adversarial powers who are both nuclear powered and who see it as an existential requirement to undermine India at all stages. So given that kind of a challenge, we have had very strong fault lines inside, because of which there was always an apprehension as to why this sector cannot be opened or why it should be opened. The arguments were very, very convincing on each side, and trust me, the person who's signing with his ink pen, it becomes very difficult for that person to take a call. And then you need an exogenic shock from outside, maybe a call at the highest level that whatever it is, we will walk down this path and see how it happens. And so I think that some very fantastic decisions have been taken in recent times to enable the drone industry. So here, seen on slides, I don't need to call out the numbers, they are as flashed. But what's important is at this stage is that we first look at the history of how things have generally evolved. So the first known instance of drone being used for a civilian application in India, as far as my understanding and research goes to, is 2014, when somebody delivered a pizza in Mumbai. And the moment that happened, the institutions, the security institutions suddenly went into a dizzy that, you know, this could be a potential to be misused, and they kind of blocked it. So that has been a challenge in Indian system, that anything that is new, the policy far lag behind innovation, I would say. So it was kind of suppressed. Now, when that happened, thereafter, a lot of internal churn happened that, you know, you need to open it up, and there are fantastic avenues that the drone offers. So we have these civil aviation rules, CAR rules, which are say there on the Ministry of Civil Aviation website. So under that, they came up with drone rules version 1 in 2018. Now, when they those who were framing the rules, probably they had noble intent to open up. But what happens is that the people who write the rules and the people who enforce the rules and the industrial or enterprise capacity that is required to implement the rules, they were not in sync with each other. So we had a very, very interesting thing that happened was that bring anything with respect to drone under total control, which meant that they came out a very interesting device called no permission, no takeoff. That means that for anything to take off with respect to a drone, they had to go to a website, they had to fill the flight plan. It's something like, you know, you own a car. So I'm giving an analogy. So you own a car. So now from your home, you need to go to the shopping center. So you need to put in the website, I need to go to the shopping center for XYZ purpose. Then from shopping center, you need to go to the hospital. So that is another route path. So effectively, whatever was mission plan in terms of the track, you were supposed to put it in a website, get cleared, and only then when it is cleared, then you will take off. Now, the problem was that the website on which this was supposed to be enabled kind of never got made. So there was a huge, again, challenge. I mean, the volleyball continued, and then they decided to come up with a new approach where they said that you already have the Aircraft Act, and we will, you have something called the aircraft rules. So let's do something under unmanned aircraft rules. So based on that, it took about 3 years for the churn to happen inside. And we came out with a public consultation paper on this in March 2021, that is last year. They were called the UAS rules of 2021. And what happened is that when they took a much more holistic view that had been taken in 2018, it became even more challenging, because now you had to take, even for buying different drone parts, so each person had to have a license. And so even if you had to make a small drone in your own home, there were, I'm given to understand broadly, about 10 to 15 licenses that you had to have in place at different levels before you could even do it. So again, probably representations were made into the system. And then we came out with a better thing called the drone rules of 2021, which were more aligned towards the automobile concept rather than the aircraft concept. So what, as you have in automobiles, that there is a kind of a testing and certification agency like ARAI. So similarly, QCI, the Quality Control of India, was entrusted to come out with a kind of a certifications which certified the quality. So DGCA, I think, was supposed to be being the approving authority from where this whole thing flowed. So QCI was supposed to kind of lay down standards for type certification of drones. And thereafter, they came up, for security perspective, they came out with a compulsory unique identification number, So any drone that is there, that had to be registered, which is a very, very fair thing to do. Then they came out with the security approach was driven from two sides. One from whatever is happening to the drone and what was happening to the pilot. So from a drone perspective, they came out with the certification of quality through the QCI and the unique identification in terms of creating a national repository as to who owns this. So all manufacturers are required to adhere to this. Now, from the drone operator perspective, you put the licensing of the pilot under control, both for ensuring safety of it and thereafter having some kind of a registered so that some standard is there in terms of the operation of that. Then the government also came out with a third party liability, insurance liability, like you have it in terms of the automobiles. And thereafter, so this sorted out the manufacturing, the procurement, and getting ready for operations. But now let's move on to the operating zone. So when it came to the operating zone, then it became that so the airspace was defined into the green zone, the yellow zone, and the red zones. I'll throw some light on it subsequently. In terms of the category, the drones are divided into nano, micro, small, medium, and large. So as far as nano drones are concerned, you need to get it registered, but there's no pilot licensing or drone certification required in that case. And rest in all cases, you need to get it done. And thereafter, in terms of permission to fly in the green zones, it is as indicated. But for yellow zone and red zone, you need conditionalities. I shall cover it subsequently. So this slide kind of indicates to you as to how this whole thing is done. So effectively, red zones are the zones where there are sensitive government installations and restricted areas where unless and until you are invited, you cannot pass through that. So that is something which is known in the red zone, which is in the as indicated. So you need to be at a distance of 5 kilometers from this identified zone. Thereafter, when it comes to say airport areas which are near the airports and all, that is 8 kilometers, and the general areas, there is no restriction. So these are the kind of restrictions that are in place. And rest are more of technical nature, which you can refer to the various publications which have come out with it and the Gazette. I can share the link of the same. Thereafter, I would like to also bring out to you, sorry for this, there's some problem on the slide. Yeah, so while that is a technical aspect of it, but what I'm more interested in is talking about where do you apply this? While in the subsequent presentation, I'm given to understand that the future of drones will be covered. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to link some of the policy initiatives vis-a-vis where are we heading in terms of economics and where you can actually move in with drones. And if you see the vision of the Prime Minister has been into the $5 trillion economy that he wants to, he has in his mind. And in that, you have national infrastructure pipeline. Then you have something called the Swachh Bharat mission. Then you have the Jal Jeevan mission. Then you have the Gati Shakti mission, which has been announced with the Prime Minister. Then you have the Narega, then you have the Kisan scheme, and then you have the Clear Air mission scheme. Now, I feel that given the disruptive nature of drones, there is something to do in each one of these verticals. Now, given the nature of jobs that are existing today, where there is much more takeover by the machines, and there are limited jobs within the government sector as well as outside, it is a very good route to go on the entrepreneurial way into the drone sector, because this is a low cost, high impact sector. So given the extent of work that is required to be undertaken in all these segments, I think it's a very, very good situation, and especially with the enormous amount of policy initiatives which have been announced, especially in the geospatial domain. Earlier, if you see, it was very, very difficult to manage geospatial data. Today, there is high availability, accessibility, and affordability that is enabled through the geospatial guidelines which have come. In our days, it was such a nightmare. You know, when I'm talking about our days means when I was in the young students age, or probably even maybe 4 or 5 years back, people had the data, but they were very happy just putting it in some kind of cupboard inside and talking about it that no, this data is mine, and you need XYZ permissions. So it was true, and this is one of the reasons why the geospatial industry prospered in India, because of serving the external clients rather than the internal clients. And the good part is that the administration has understood the disruptive potential of geospatial technology and remote sensing to drive it, to use it as a driver of the economy, and to to make lives of people much more simpler. So I think that if we very closely look at the potential that gets unleashed by the drone policy as well as the geospatial policy, there are fantastic avenues available today to start businesses, to create value, as well as to create a demand within the economy in a manner where the citizen wants data in his daily life for accurate conduct of his act, or for meticulous conduct of his business activity, improve their productivity in terms of efficiency, and their ability to measure, monitor, administer, analyze, predict, manage their activities in a much more disruptive manner than that was possible before. While if we look at the larger perspective, now this is the geospatial value chain, where you have surveying and mapping on the left side. Let me just get the laser pointer here. So you had surveying and mapping, you had data processing, you had workflow integration, you have sectoral application, and practically every ministry you see is somewhere or the other directly associated with it. And I'm talking of just the civilian domain, if required. Now, the advantage of drone over satellite is that drone can go anywhere whenever you want. It is a much more localized thing. Whereas satellites are much more, they have to be controlled in terms of programming, the time of arrival, and there are limitations. They cannot be very persistent. Drones may not always be persistent, but you have the ability to send them as per your whims and fancies, provided you have the permissions available. Things are much more in your visual control or near visual control. So that is the disruptive strength of drone that brings to the table. And you see the construction business, you see in both road transport, it is very, very effective, even in terms of taxation, in terms of monitoring, say, environment. Let's see that, this climate conference, which has recently been conducted, India has made some bold statements in terms of achievement of certain goals. In terms, thereafter, you have the sustainable development goals. Now link them with the ministries that are there with us and the verticals that are mentioned in this. There's a very fantastic story, and the fantastic story is because you are no longer under challenge to play with data. You can own data, you can create value addition to that data, and you got high resolution data. It was a fantasy in our time if I could get a high resolution satellite imagery of a certain place in a certain time. Now that has changed. And my request to all of you is please go through the recent guidelines that have been geospatial guidelines. Please go through the draft national geospatial policy, which is already in public domain, which plays a lot of a focus on surveying activity and entrepreneurship and education. Please also pay a lot of attention to the remote sensing policy, which is going to come up. We have taken very, very bold steps in engaging with the government as part of the Indian Space Association, and the sense is that you will have the data aspects being governed by the geospatial policy, whereas the space aspects are handled by InSpace, which means that the ability to bring convergence between satellite-based data and the remote sensing data as part of ground serving activity and the drones, because the solutions that you will require a multi-sectoral, multi-sensor approach. That will become very, very fantastic. And with this, when you integrate statistical data, it brings the quality of solutions that are offered to a much more definitely different level, which actually would start meeting the aspirations of the users who demand those kind of solutions from you when you go onto the field. So with those words, I would say that I am thankful to all of you for having given me an opportunity. Time was less, so I have tried to be generally brief about how things are. And I hope that I have been able to at least trigger something in your minds. I'm available to you anytime, 24/7, just a call away. Please get in touch with me and we can talk about whatever doubts you have. I thank Drone Federation of India and Geospatial World for providing me some interesting data with which I could give you this fantastic presentation. And these are my contact details. Please get in touch with me anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for informative presentation on drone policy in India. Now, I would like to introduce second speaker of the session, Sri Satish Kumar, CEO, ROSYS Group. He has over 21 years of aviation experience in both engineering and operations. He is former Government India Union Public Service Officer in Civil Aviation Operations Cadre, served in Directorate General of Civil Aviation Headquarters, and was heading national-wide CNS wing regulatory functions. He is member of Technical Review and Certification Team for Gagan Project, Working Group #5 in World Radio Conference and Gagan Business Development Advisory Board. He is actively involved in various aviation and tech projects related to drone navigation system, artificial intelligence system, aerospace precision manufacturing, quantum computing, ground-based augmentation system for landing, unified surveillance and detection system, and few projects related to aerospace and defense. Presently, he is leading a team on establishing an integrated next generation technology hub, a one-stop shop ecosystem for aerospace and next generation technologies. Again, I welcome Mr. Satish Kumar and hand over session to him.
Thank you, Ms. Balvi. Thank you very much. And thanks for the opportunity. And I quickly start my presentation. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me start because we have a short of time. Future use of drones. Drones are everywhere and anywhere and everywhere in future, because the thing what drones can do is we can't even predict, and we can't even see, because with the less than 20% of the knowledge what we have that what drones can do, this is the market which has been estimated by various agencies across the world. Okay, the big takeaway is the drone market by 2025 will be approximately 42.8 billion USD. And because if you really see, when you talk about any market, it is population oriented and density on the population. So Asia and Middle East is going to contribute 50%, at least 50% of the market. And in India also, we have estimated around 18 billion by 2030. And these figures are just with less than 20% of know-how what drone can do. Okay, now I'm touching few of the sectors where the market is divided and the applications are divided. If you see, there are infrastructure, agricultural, transport, security, medical, and other associated things, insurance, your telecommunication, mining. Okay, the major part of the sectors are infrastructure and agriculture. And one thing I would like to address here, whatever the sector may be, the GIS is the prime, baseline know-how for drone industry. Why? Because the drone is flying on its air and whatever in your airspace, which requires and which collects data or which collects whatever intelligence information, it has to be tagged to some reference point on the ground. So GIS is the main key feature for any application of the drone. Now I will just touch only one sector, which is infrastructure. So if you see in infrastructure, there are land surveys, again GIS, roads and bridges, dams, high-rise buildings, monuments, railways, power lines, and thermal plants. Let us go by a few examples. Okay, so roads and bridges. So I need not to tell you what is the length of roads what we have, but let us focus on bridges. We have approximately 9.9 bridges, flyovers, and small culverts across the country. And these roads, these bridges are to be inspected in a time bound. And presently we know how difficult to inspect a bridge. Okay, now the same inspection, if a people carries out and maybe 40 to 50% with accuracy, they will do around 2 days or 3 days for a medium size of a bridge, let's say 150 meters. Okay, a drone can perform maybe in 1 hour or 1.5 hours. And with a lot of AI analytics, I think you can store the record, you can have a AI-based neural networks to identify the cracks, whatnot. You can do anything and everything with the drone with the help of these type of technologies. Okay, like dams. Presently, the dams have been inspected by helicopters. And recently, last year, we had witnessed one accident where we lost 2 brave pilots and 1 guy who is actually inspecting the bridge. And these type of mishaps will never happen when you use a drone. And the drone is capable of delivering this similar feature or the better feature with the AI analytics on board and without any loss of the human. So, and coming back to power lines and thermal plants, there are a lot of power lines, thermal plants, which require regular inspection. And presently, all these things are performed by helicopters, which are very, very, very costly. And that's why the duration of the inspections are a bit widened and a lot of problems are coming up. Okay. Now, why we need to build the drone ecosystem? The UAV ecosystem within the India is currently with few companies which have came and started manufacturing. The companies have realized, yes, the drone is going to take over the market and it is going to the next generation market. And they are catering with the limited services to the customers. As I said, if you talk about the services, like let's take bridges, take an example of Swiggy, Zomato. If they started using drones to deliver whatever food, then just imagine how many drones will be flying in your city and in my city. Okay. Other than this, every police station, if they are flying 1 or 2 drones for the surveillance, okay, every fire station, like you name it, everywhere the drone is used. Furthermore, while drones have many functional capabilities, there are some yet to fully explore across industries. See, drone itself is a machine, okay, supported by AI, AR, VR, IoT, and 3D modeling, a lot of things, okay. So there is a lot of room for innovation development as tastes and preferences changes and get more refined when you really use the things. The main component here, I want to touch the main component of drone ecosystem is none other by a trained human resources exhibiting the following skills. Basically, the trained human resources, none other than you and me. Okay, you people are the future human resources which will be required to boost this industry and stand as a pillar of this industry. Okay, what are the skills required? Basically, design and development of drones, drone as a machine, flying drones and regulations. Without, I think the basic flying course I suggest people should do, so that your valuation or your credentials will increase. And the regulations, yes, you have to be in the up to date of the regulations which have been given, published by the regulatory authority. And the other sector is maintenance and assembly of drones. This is also going to have a very large market. Payload design and development. This is a continuous process. When and when the requirement comes and all, you have to have this sector skills. Deployment of AI-based applications. This is the upcoming, and this is the most important where it has got, it can really employ a huge number of resources. Knowledge on drone-based GIS technologies. As I already told you, GI is the primary thing. Apart from GI, there is one more thing which everybody has to have a insight is airspace, air navigation, UTM, and the technologies. So I mean airspace and air navigation, because it's a flying object, everyone has to have some insight on the airspace and air navigations. And certainly within maybe another 2 years, 3 years, the UTMs will be coming up in a very aggressive manner, where every city or every district will have an UTM operator, a private or a government UTM operator, which will control, which will give the guidance, or which will allow the permissions, and a lot of things will be happening in the drone sector. Okay, I have finished my presentation. Any doubts, please? Any questions?
Sir, we have a question and answer session separately after the end of third talk.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your informative views on future use of drone. Now, I would like to introduce Sri Dominic Karunesudas, Honorary Director, GISDICE. He is founder and CEO of Technifix Consulting. He has completed many professional studies internationally. Mr. Dominic has over 18 plus years professional experience in high technology consulting, such as cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, machine learning, along with media and technology entrepreneurship. He is former editor of technology with the Times of India Group, CNBC TV 18, Web 18, Indian Express Group. He also has a strong foundation in investment banking, merger and acquisition, and financial technologies. He briefs the PMO, National Security Agencies, the Armed Forces of India, Member of Parliaments, and defense attacks on matters related to applied technology for national and economic security. I welcome Sri Dominic Karunesudas and hand over session to him.
Thank you so much. I'm just sharing the screen. Can someone please?
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Awesome, great. So I have a very crisp 5 slides. I will cover it up quickly, and then I would like to take up as much question as possible, so that that would be more interesting for everybody. Cybersecurity, as you all know, is a very critical space, and post demonetization and now with COVID, the importance of cybersecurity has increased multifold, and proportionately the number of percentage in cybersecurity, cyber crimes have also increased very drastically. Unfortunately, if you look at the numbers, it's a challenge to find accurate numbers and data in India. But if you look at some of the reports in Europe and in the US, then we see that a common pattern and thread that the maximum amount of victims are either senior citizens, women, or children. So this is also a concern that we in India should address, so that it would be unfair to say that we can stop cybercrime or any form of crime, but we can definitely ensure that the percentage and the ratio can come down drastically. So coming back to the drone specific part of how cybersecurity and AI plays a role into drones, I would like to share some of the scenarios. The situation is evolving because we are yet to personally see, observe, and experience the boom of drones, though we all know for sure that this is going to happen. But I would like to share some of the scenarios based on some of the real life incidents that has happened abroad. So one of the scenarios is where the drone can be has been locked. The hacker can potentially take control of the drone or download videos and other images which the drone is broadcasting to its base station. Hacking a drone isn't technically difficult. So for those students who are really keen to build a career around this or want to be researchers in this, then it's a fascinating space to be. And many operators, drone operators, leave their drones wide open to attack. One of the very well-respected cybersecurity scientist based in US by the name Bruce Schinner. He had a couple of years back in his research report, stated that the United States government and the private enterprise, they spend more on coffee vending machines than on cybersecurity. So that's the same thing applies. People ignore cybersecurity unless on one fine day when they become the victim, then they realize that it is truly important and critical. GPS spoofing is another example. Feeds the drone false GPS coordinates. The drone thinks that it is following its original flight path, but in fact is being led to a different location. The hacker, out for fun, might simply want to crash a drone deliberately, or make 2 or 3 drones crash, or make the drone crash into a building or a specific target location. But a drone could also be used to crash a car, a person, and so on and so forth. It completely varies on person to person and the figment of their imagination. Hijacking the command and control signal between the operator and the drone can deliver full control of the drone and its systems to the hacker. Another space will not necessarily be the drone itself, but the radio signals, which is often, as of now, unencrypted, making it easy to decode with a packet analyzer. Packet analyzer is a simple software tool, and sniffer, which is also used currently for Wi-Fi hacking and similar scenarios. Those packets can capture some of the packets into the software, and then you get access to the data points so that you can go to the next level of steps. So a threat from above, downlink threats allow a hacker to intercept data being transmitted from the drone to a base station. If video, for instance, is being broadcasted from the drone to the controller, as the case with first-person view system, it is vulnerable. Now, this might sound a little technical in nature, but I still thought I should present this because most of the audience here are students. So it would be interesting for you to further research on this. This is a real life case where the security researcher who's specializing now in drone hijacking, he went further using a hijacked drone with a Raspberry Pi. It's a small component. Most of the students might be aware of Raspberry Pi and Arduino. And he used this simple, small Raspberry Pi payload to hijack multiple other drones, creating a swarm under the hacker's control. So this is typically what we call a DDoS attack, distributed denial of service, and which is common and prominent now currently with taking control of multiple computers and mobile devices. Some of the suggestions that I wanted to share here is update the drone firmware regularly. The major drone manufacturers currently, as we speak, issue patches, just like in Windows operating system. However, that is not foolproof because these patches are also available online. So a person with malicious intent can bypass it. The example, DJI, which is a Chinese drone, which is the most prominent drone currently in the market, has issued a security patch after hackers access the manufacturer's website, allowing them to access flight logs, videos, photos, map views from drone users in real time. Now this has happened once, and please mark my word, this will happen again in future with multiple vendors, multiple manufacturers. They might find out new ways of doing things, but this will repeatedly happen. The number of drone manufacturers increase, number of users increase, similar attacks will also increase in proportion. Needless to say, just as we do it in banking or any other financial transactions or for our day-to-day activities of emails and other areas, please use a very strong password. In this case, for your base station app, alphanumeric with multiple characters. This will not stop the attack, but this will make the attacker's intent very difficult, because they will have to go for multiple times probability to try permutation combination to gain access to your system. Well, if you're using a smartphone or laptop, as a controller, keep it secure and don't let it get infected by malware. It happened in 2012. Several US Army drones were reported to have infected by malware. Malware, the other name for malware is what we commonly call as viruses, worm, Trojan horses. And these were attacked, used a drone's computer to download and play video games. Antivirus softwares for drones are not available right now in India, but there are some manufacturers who are working on it, and some of them claim that they have made it, but it is fake in nature. So please don't fall for such traps. A very good idea always is to go for a VPN, virtual private network. This will reduce drastically the number of attacks from accessing your communication when you're connected to the internet. A VPN is a great way, even generally, which acts as a secure gateway to the internet and encrypts your connection so a hacker can't get in, or better way to put it is, will get extremely difficult for a hacker to get in. Set a limit of 1 for the number of devices that can connect to your base station. That will prevent hackers hijacking your signal to the control or other devices. Ensure your drone has a return to home. So some of you who have flown the drone, there is a option, a button that says return to home. So as much possible, please use that. Once you have set the home point, this will enable the drone to return if it loses signal, if your signal is jammed, or if the battery becomes depleted. This will enable you to recover your drone from a hijacked situation. However, because RTH depends on GPS to work, it is not immune to GPS spoofing, which I had mentioned in my first slide. Some of the points, I'm repeating it here. Secure all IoT devices. Internet of Things. India is going to be by far one of the world's largest user base for IoT devices in coming years. To simply put it, IoT is your day-to-day devices such as fridge, TV, geyser, watch, and other devices are connected to internet. And this will be a major area of data theft, and for black hat hackers and in the dark web, it is one of the creme de la creme premiumly sold areas where they sell good amount of personal data. And the transaction entirely is on cryptocurrencies, primarily on Bitcoin. Please never leave your Wi-Fi router with a default username password. Change the username so that the hacker can't guess the type of router or the network you're using. And please have a strong password for all your network devices. The identical password thing is very common. People tend to use the same password for multiple devices for the ease of use, but it is extremely vulnerable. Coming back to quickly on the AI part, artificial intelligence, as most of you might be aware, gives the ability for the machine to interact in a very intelligent way, currently used in multiple areas. Some of the things that it can do when is already covered by the earlier speakers, and I will quickly check on this. And as we speak, some of the vendors, technology manufacturers are already working on these areas. And in the coming days, we will see the real life applications for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Dominic, and rest of the speaker. Now we are open for question answer session. So you can post your question and all our three guest speaker will answer, give reply to your queries. So we are getting question and we can pick a couple of questions from the chat box as per your expertise, sir. So think who is willing to have. For example, Adnan has a query. How does the drone policy ensure the privacy of a common man, especially when they are so easily hackable? I think it is direct question for Dominic, sir. Please, sir.
Is it the first question? Can you please repeat the question? I'm sorry.
It is how does the drone policy ensure the privacy of a common man, especially when they are so easily hackable?
Okay, so I don't have the complete answer because the space is evolving, but there is no privacy here, if I can put it in simple words. Just as it's a very sensitive question. I don't know if this is the right forum to cover it, but even for those of us who are using a smartphone and using apps such as Zomato, Uber, Ola, other apps where you stand at a specific location and you ask somebody to get a cab or food delivered, even there you are sharing your personal information. So the privacy part is quite tricky. And as we speak, the government of India is planning to bring a data privacy policy in the upcoming session. Hopefully that will address a lot of issues. But I'm sure that the policymakers in the drone space as well are quite aware of it. We did have a couple of the discussions in earlier forums that drone will indeed breach the privacy part in a very big way. Like, for example, if your neighbor is flying a drone and if bunch of family members are in the swimming pool and the drone is capturing the activity, then it's definitely a breach of personal privacy. So do we have the right to throw stones at the drone or get it down, or do we have to file an FIR? None of these questions are quite clear at the moment. But will there be a breach of privacy? The answer is yes. The privacy experts and other policymakers will have to come on board and address this issue.
Okay, I think next question for Satyam, sir. Why cannot we follow USA example in streamlining and promulgating the laws covering governing the use of drones and creating a better system that can also enable small business owners? Satyam, sir, are you here?
Yeah. So let's understand one thing, that technology may be universally usable, but the cultural utilization, the culture of utilization is very different in each country. And it comes from the kind of threats that country faces, the kind of ecosystem in which you operate, who are the users, how are they going to use it. So these are a very, very complex matrix which do not have straight answers. Let me put it this way. In US, I don't know how many of you have relatives in US, but in case he has signed up with the US authorities on certain things, trust me, even when he's alone, he will say, I'm governed by US law, I'll not talk about it. Because there, the ability of the state to enforce laws and take you to a logical conclusion is extremely high as compared to what it is in India. There, the fear of law enforcement is really there as compared to in India. It's not that we are a rogue state. No, we are a responsible state, but we also need to travel a certain journey before we reach that level of ability of the law enforcement agencies to be able to effectively pinpoint where crime is taking place and deal with it and enforce the laws that are there in the land in an effective manner. And your judicial system also needs to be beefed up to deal with such challenges. Given those kind of gaps, it has been a challenge for the law enforcement agencies. And I say this with confidence because I have been a part of the security establishment when I was part of the PMO under the National Security Council for 5.5 years. And the first policy reforms in the geospatial domain were kind of energized from my office. And that time, when you start writing lines, it is not easy to write the lines the way people would like it to be written, because for every one good thing happening, there are 10 different ways in which that thing can be misused. So that is how, as I covered the inception phase of drone policies itself, they were a reflection that the fear that how it can be misused. Yes, definitely that is there, and that has been a concern. And responsible use of technology is something which is like you see your normal mobile phone. Yes, it's a fantastic tool, but we have daily examples of how it has violated the privacy of people, and the law enforcement agencies do take care of handling those things as per the law of the land. So as has been covered by the previous speaker, that the data privacy law is something that we look forward to. But yes, for specific areas, things will, the existing probably laws will take care. And I think that we need to follow a much more interesting journey before we could reach that level which the Osama wants to know about. That's what I can say at this stage.
Okay, I can see we have very interesting question from Ayush. He has queried, how can a drone be tracked to a user? Say if a user decides to use a drone for malicious activities, say if that drone is modified in such a way that you cannot trace back to the user, would not the world be a much more dangerous place, as people could easily get away with crime? So I think
I have answered this partially. The interest of the government has been to ensure that say being over paranoid about security, let the economic activity happen. But yes, you create 2-3 bad examples, it impacts everybody in the country. So I think that will need to be seen. I think Kalyana may be able to
Yes.
throw some interesting light on this.
While I was on DGCA, while we are framing the rules and regulations, a lot of inputs have been taken from us, and this is one of the reason why we say regulations are very strict and other things. Because see, we can't control illegal activities. Okay, if a person is legal and he follows the regulations, and we can make regulations. But if the person is intent to do some mischief, then it's a crime. Basically, the law enforcement has to look into the matters. Okay, yes, obviously the laws will come, certain things will come, and maybe more stringent, because even the regulatory authorities and the law enforcement are recommending more stringent rules and regulations on the illegal persons who are using for illegal activities. Okay, drone can be used anywhere, like from a trafficking to whatever. If you want to think your visions are good, you can use for good. If your vision is bad, and if you can use it for bad. And I think there is one more question.
Dr. Dharavir, can I add something into this?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Yes.
the Aishu's question is quite interesting, but everything will have two sides its own coin, like double-edged sword. Internet is used for some of the most amazing and fascinating humanity-driven projects, and it's also used for the worst of the crimes that one can imagine, right? So one of the statistics is almost 65% of content over the internet is adult content, porn, right? So that is also not so favored space to be in. So the idea is how a technology is used and what are the applications depends on the user itself. But 100% security is a myth. There's nothing called as 100% security. We trust in God, but we lock our car. So that is where, if it was so easy and simple, we would hardly need law enforcement agencies and a lot of national security experts and technology experts who focus on the security aspect itself. But when you design a product itself, the designer themselves, if you can have security level thought of what are the possible probabilities that can go wrong, and if they can inject that both at the software level and the hardware level, then yes, the end product would be far better than what we see currently.
Okay.
Okay, there is one more question. Somebody, Hassan, is asked if I am a good analyst, can ground level, small scale problems be solved using drone AI, such as drainage issues, land disputes, or managing improper waste management? See, land disputes are the court problem, but every minute problem can be solved, and we are solving. Presently, we are working with some of the municipalities where we deliver the a lot of pesticides and other things to spray on the lakes, ponds, and we identify a lot of drainage issues. We identify a lot of waste management. Okay, everything can be mapped out. And I will tell one more example, was a classic real-time example. Ghana, there is a small city where they have mapped the complete city by using drones. Okay, and everything has been built on a 3D visualization. And frequently, periodically, the drones are flying to regulate, okay, what's the new development, whether the houses are constructed in the way they are approved, or any garbage is there, any timely cleaning is not happening, everything. They have made a very beautiful area. It's around 1,000 acres of land, they have made it. Okay, this is just an example in an African country. So India is also following, we are following it. So people are realizing slowly. That's why in my first presentation, I told you, less than 20% of know-how of what a drone can do, we are in this business. Okay, just imagine if you are full-fledged, opened for 100%, then the sky's limit.
Okay, thank you, sir. I thank you to everyone, for example, Satyam sir, Satish sir, and Dominic sir, for putting the things in a very easy manner before us, because it's a new topic to us. And I hope students and other professionals who don't have background in a drone may come to the problems and scope of the drone, and they may utilize it for developing it as a part of their research activities, or for seeking job opportunity in this field. I think sir wants to say something. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, before closing, I would like to thank actually for the divine initiative took by your university. Because see, as I mentioned, from I think maybe in 2014, I was seeing very closely working with this drone, whether to approve, not approve. Even I am the person who has signed, given a reply to IIT Mumbai that, okay, you cannot use because you are coming in the path of that. Now I am in the other side industry. Of course, things are moving, but the right way to develop and escalate this industry is training human resources. Okay, that part you people are doing really. Thank you. And that is the thing where is lacked in this industry. And if we come across this thing, I think we will cross China or whatever big countries who are claiming themselves they are the best. Yes, they are. Okay, because they are doing, they are. Okay, now we will do, we will be.
Yes. I agree with you, sir, and we would like to inform to other speaker and our participant that SIG and ROSYS signed a MOU for developing drone course and to work together for research development in this field, including GISDICE. And so in future, we may have
it is in process. It is in
yes.
process. I think
yes.
it has not yet signed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, in process of signing. So in future, SIG may launch some new course or certificate program on drone and its application. Our director sir is here. He will say more about this course. I am handling session to him, sir.
Yeah. So yes, sir. Because this is not a forum for that one, but yes, we are in the process to develop some capacity building program in a drone. Where we know that a lot of gaps is over there. The people are not understanding because they have still that they are understanding that drone can be utilized only in the marriage party or the somewhere in that the to capture some gathering only. But a part of this drone having a lot of applications which we can't visualize, or people can't visualize that one also. How many different kinds of sensor can be put on the drone to get that information, that people are not, because that future is that when you are going to be put a hyperspectral to the lidar and all those sensor, high resolution information you are going to be get it very correctly. So this is that the future is very bright of a drone. And because it's a local, while we are talking earlier that we were talking about high resolution satellite images, which have that their own limitations, which have own their temporal problems, which have own their the coverage problems. But now that the drone have, I think that it has going to be solved that high level, high spatial resolution information to capture it. Capture with that the several different kinds of sensors. And of course that the earlier it was very difficult to get the satellite data of a high resolution data. That was earlier, it was like that. No, even right now also that less than 1 meter data set, to get a 1 meter, less than 1 meter data set is also one problem. You need to be require a lot of permission. So our vision was that why not that start a capacity building in the area which is that very close to our subject geoinformatics and remote sensing, where a lot of data we are going to be utilized for analytics purpose. It would be a natural resource management, it would be a precision agriculture, it would be for urban development or urban sprawl, or infrastructure assessment or monitoring, which is now closely related to that what data analytics we are teaching. So we are in process to have this course for that starting with that certification to go through that our if the things would be there, then the diploma and the postgraduate diploma in this particular area. So that is a vision which we are thinking of. And of course, Mr. Satish said very well that that in 2014-15, when you are thinking about, okay, that can we get a drone data, or can we get even the lidar data from that? No, it was that like an offense you are getting something if you are going to be get a lidar data. It might be a crime actually if you are holding a lidar data with you. I know that in 2003 to 2004, 2005, when that tsunami hits that eastern coast of India, a lot of survey has been done through the lidar data set, lidar instrument, and people want to work on that, but that that you require a defense clearance, you require that clearance from police, you require a lot of clearance, so that you can't do anything actually. You are going to be stop your things at that place. But the initiative which has come up, where that Mr. Kushwaha, who is leading a role actually, that how that space technology or space-based technology can be leveraged to the common people to come up with their businesses. And that is going to be boom, that on requirement to analyze those data set, how they can start their business. And SIG may play a very important role to incubate such kind of businesses to work on the capacity development. And we are also in the process with the Mr. Kushwaha to have a MOU on this area. So hopefully that the future is going to be very bright with that the government initiative. And the stalwart, those are sitting over here, they are going to be promote this technology, and that is going to be help, or going to be make that pupil life easy. So yeah. Yeah, you are yes.
With this-
Sir, sorry.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir. Yes, sir.
Like Dr. TP Singh sir just mentioned about the MOU that we are talking about. So yes, that is something which is very, very interesting, which is in the pipeline. And I am taking the liberty of mentioning about that because there is a lot of student community and the faculty here. So it in one shot, the message reaches out to everybody that as part of the Indian Space Association, we are very, very strongly going towards the creation of capacity in the geospatial domain as an end application of the space industry that is going to be built up. The government has made it intent very clear that other than very, very specific governmental programs, the government agencies like ISRO and all will basically be for the larger research activity now, like what they used to do earlier, like interplanetary missions and things like that. So it's the market forces that are going to work towards creation of capacity, demand, business models. That means you'll have private satellite constellations instead of civilian constellations. So this will no longer be something which was used to be earlier in our times when you used to go to NRSA data lab or some other data lab and you used to see fancy computers. That whole thing will shift over a period of time to big companies, that means corporate sector. So there is, we are going through a transition phase, but this will change in next 1.5 years. So keep the gunpowder ready by skilling yourself. As the previous speakers have mentioned, skill yourself. And many times when we talk about we are not able to visualize more than 20%, I would see that as an opportunity. That you are driven by the limits of your imagination. So you need to run wild your horses of imagination in and innovate where this thing has not been used. Trust me, India is the best test bed in the world because you've got all type of climate, all type of terrain, all type of weather systems, all type of disasters coming here. You have all types. You've got such a diverse ethnographic diversity that exists in this country. And when you mix this with the various parameters of socio-economic development, government requirements, infrastructure requirements, each of them become a unique case by themselves. And they themselves open huge avenues for business. So think of upskilling, think of innovation, think of being an entrepreneur, and think from it because you are a management institution. So the message to the students is talk amongst yourselves. Don't be restricted to just like this into your own cocoon. कि मैंने इतना कर लिया तो मेरा काम खत्म हो गया शाम तक. No, use this time to know people from other faculties, other departments, so that this cross-pollination of thought process ignites your mind and takes you to a different world where you create businesses which rule the world tomorrow. That's my parting statement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this nice statement, because I think that would be our concluding remark of this webinar. And with this, I thank everyone, including our technical team, administrative team, director, sir, and guest and student also. And we hope this is not the end of the series. It will the start of series related to drones and policy. And in future, we hope to organize more such events, and we need your cooperation for smooth functioning and spreading awareness about the geospatial and drone policy in our country. With thank you once again, thanks to everyone. With this, we conclude the webinar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.